things I've learned is that none of us are human. We are consciousness, and as consciousness during an OBE, when I prolong my OBE, my humanoid form begins to essentially dissolve away. And when I hold my out-of-body state and use my technique like awareness now, which allows me to stabilize my state of consciousness, and I begin to automatically move inward into the universe, because actually in out-of-body experiences, we're moving into a subtle aspect, an inner aspect of the universe within ourselves. And one thing I learned is that I lose all humanoid form, generally in a very short period of time. And this has been confirmed by many other explorers.
What do you look like?
You generally will turn into first your arms and legs will begin to dissolve away. Mm-hmm. And you become almost like a teardrop of consciousness, or whatever your self-conception may be, because thoughts create reality. But I found generally that I'll turn into, this is generally with my technique of awareness now, I'm moving inward and re-experiencing my true self, which is like a globe of consciousness. And the first thing that happens very quickly is that this animal vision disappears, and you begin to perceive your environment in 360 degrees. That's when you know that you've connected or reconnected with your true self.
Okay. Got it. All right. Many more questions for William Buhlman as we continue. He's got a great website. Do drop by. Just click on his name at rense.com and stop in. We'll be right back with Bill in just a couple. Buhlman? We are indeed energy beings. I hate to use the word light being. It's too cliched, but we are energetic beings ultimately, and that's why when the physical body dies, there is a loss of weight. There's a difference in weight. When the body dies, it actually becomes lighter. I've forgotten the amount, but this was figured out by Sir William Crookes almost, I guess, a century ago. When someone dies, the body actually lightens up a little bit. Hey.
Yes, that's true.
Very interesting.
The exact,
it's small.
What the weight is.
Yeah, milligrams or something, but there's an absolute difference in weight, and that's the electrical energy leaving the body and going on to do what it wants to do, and looking down from above and all the rest of it. Is your OBE experience in any way linked to looking down at your body asleep in bed? Do you do that kind of thing? Do you float, or do you get up and walk around and have the dog and cat follow you?
I've had every kind of imaginable experience over the last 38 years. I think probably more than I often lift out and then just will myself to the door. I think I always have a goal, door now or something. Often at the beginning, and this is something I like to bring up to all the listeners, many people feel like they're stuck in their body at the beginning because there's almost like a magnetic field. And one of the ways to break this is to focus your attention to a door or a window and to move 10 feet or so away from your body. And then you will feel you have a lot more freedom. But generally, I roll sometimes at the beginning, or sometimes I just find myself out of body. There's all kinds of different ways it can happen. It will depend on what kind of technique you're using. And for instance, I got over 40 different techniques to initiate an out-of-body experience. And there's even ways to begin to initiate one from the dream state. And there's different ways to do that. But what I recommend is a focused self-initiation. For instance, in my workshops, I usually will begin with a hypnosis technique, very deep hypnosis technique. And then I proceed from there to work on conditioning people to go beyond their physical limits. This is why my workshops are 4 days long, because a lot of this is a conditioning process. We have to relearn. In other words, we've been conditioned to believe we're a hunk of flesh, and we have to reprogram ourselves to begin to accept ourselves as something far greater than this.
Well, it's an appealing theme. You should have a lot of interest. you go, whatever language you speak, it doesn't matter.
There's a universal appeal.
Sure.
And starting this May, will be training with the Monroe Institute.
Now tell me more about that. That doesn't get any more impressive for anyone who's researching the so-called paranormal than to be invited to present or become affiliated with in any way the Monroe Institute.
Yes, I was asked by Skip Atwater, the president, to come in and conduct a series of workshops.
Nice.
So starting in May, I will be doing a 4-day program called Out-of-Body Exploration Intensive, where we will be absolutely focused on initiating out-of-body experiences. There only 24 people can attend because we will be using the check unit, and it'll be piped in music, piped in hypnosis through each of the check units, which makes it a little bit unique from, often my workshops are a group of people that are laying out sleeping bags on a floor. So the beauty of the Monroe Institute, of course, it's been designed for altered state work. I mean, the whole institute was strictly designed for that work. So I'm looking forward to conducting this 4-day program.
Well, it'll be as much fun for you as it will be attendees, I'm sure.
Oh, it's going to be exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be a very special program. It's going to be very intense also because I will be waking up people in the check units in the middle of the night, and we'll be doing programming. So I'll have almost complete control because of the way the facility is designed.
Right.
So we can do work that I normally couldn't do in a traditional workshop environment.
Okay.
So there's a lot of exciting things going on.
Yeah, that's great. How do we? Where can people find out about this? Just go to your website, obviously, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, they can go to astralinfo.org. Has my events on it. I'll be doing one in Sedona in about 10 days. A 3-day workshop. Or they can also go to the Monroe Institute and click on weekend workshops. But probably the best information is on my site, astralinfo.org.
Right.
I'll go into exactly the techniques, what to expect when you start, what to bring. You know, so everyone's prepared.
Very good.
But it'll be an exciting workshop.
I'm sure. All right. Our traditional vision of heaven, apparently not accurate. And you've based this statement, this feeling, on thousands of out-of-body experiences. Give us the idea of what the afterlife is like. I guess it's almost infinite in its potential because everybody's different, and we take that difference with us. But are there some baseline parameters you've been able to come up with that make it definable in at least a certain rudimentary sense what the afterlife is?
Yes, I have. I've spent a lot of time exploring different realities during the out-of-body state. And what I found, of course, is that there's consensus and non-consensus realities. And most of these so-called heavenly realities, this whole concept of heaven is actually quite childish. We live in a multidimensional universe, and the physical world is the epidermis layer. When we die, we're moving inward into the universe. And that is where the true universe is. I mean, that's the physical universe we see around us is just like the thin outer crust.
Right.
And when we die, or when we have an out-of-body experience or near-death experience, we're moving inward. And what I found incredibly fascinating was the diversity of these realities. A consensus reality is created by group thought. And heaven, or what heaven truly is a collective of individuals' group thoughts. And they actually build, maintain, and sustain their own individual realities that in their own way, their own heaven. And
that's very
this is what heaven truly is.
And reincarnation, very much a part of your work and your studies. Want to talk about that?
It is a reality.
Okay. Let's touch on that in just a minute, if we can. Good. All right. Well, that'll be fascinating to a lot of people who have been looking for some kind of new confirmation and who don't know your work. So we'll talk to Bill about reincarnation as well. And the idea of perhaps meeting loved ones who have passed on to the greater universe during these out-of-body experiences is also something we'll touch upon in just a few minutes with William Buhlman after this. All right, let's talk about reincarnation, which Bill says absolutely no question about it. It's real. Tell me a little bit more, please.
Well, one of the advantages of self-initiated out-of-body exploration is that you can explore and confirm these, what many people believe is just a concept. So you can prove it to yourself. I've had multiple experiences, probably well over 50, that were out-of-body experiences that connected me with past lives. And matter of fact, in one, I've had multiple of the same event where I was a German soldier during World War II. Mm-hmm. And it's just a paradigm changer. You find yourself literally living in a past life, and you're there. You're a participant. It's not just a visual thing like a regression is.
So you're feeling, you're smelling, you're sensing.
You're there.
360.
I found myself riding in a tank. I mean, I was a tank commander in World War II destroying Warsaw, Poland. And it was shocking. I mean, it was shockingly real. Mm-hmm. You're suddenly there, 100% there. As a matter of fact, it's so shocking that many people can't handle it because there's this incredible transition.
Sure.
Suddenly you're in your bed, to suddenly you're doing these events in another time and space. Mm-hmm. And it just is a huge wake-up call. I was not, by the way, I was not a believer in any of this back in the early 70s. I as you know, I wrote an entire chapter on quantum physics and its relationship to metaphysics in Adventures Beyond the Body. Mm-hmm. I was not a believer at all. I had to prove to myself that this was real. And that's the beauty of this. There's no belief system. Have the experiences, learn how to induce the experiences, and then prove it to yourself. And that's what makes this so darn exciting.
It's a potential that the controllers would rather we not indulge in en masse, I'm sure. All right. Face-to-face meetings with loved ones who have passed into the, well, more friendly confines of the real universe. How about that?
This is a very common experiences, and it's often why people want to learn how to induce out-of-body experience, because they want to reconnect with their loved ones and just have a final goodbye or whatever it may be. I've had several contacts with my mother, with my uncle, and it's face-to-face. It's one of those it's shockingly real. One of the things I like to share with your audience is that, for instance, I'll give you just a quick story. My mother, when she passed, was in her 70s and overweight. But when I met her, after her death, she was a young, vibrant, I would say 22-year-old. I mean, thin, energetic. What I found to be amazing is that when people die, people will revert back to the energy form that they perceive themselves in their very peak.
Got it.
Because your own self-concept is creating your energy body. Mm-hmm. That is what people will actually. You take on the form that you perceive yourself.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. Did she say, "Hi, William, I haven't had you yet, but I expect to have you at some point"? In other words, did you meet her before she had you?
No. This was after the fact.
Okay. All right.
No, this was after. And matter of fact, the book I'm writing now, I'm adding a segment about this. But it was for me, it was a life changer.
Oh, I'd
because
say.
she was standing right in front of me and become almost like a teardrop of consciousness, or whatever your self-conception may be, because thoughts create reality. But I found generally that I'll turn into, this is generally with my technique of awareness now, I'm moving inward and re-experiencing my true self, which is like a globe of consciousness. And the first thing that happens very quickly is that this animal vision disappears.
Buhlman? We are indeed energy beings. I hate to use the word light being, it's too cliched, but we are energetic beings ultimately, and that's why when the physical body dies, there is a loss of weight. There's a difference in weight. When the body dies, it actually becomes lighter. I've forgotten the amount, but this was figured out by Sir William Crookes.
And you begin to perceive your environment in 360 degrees. That's when you know that you've connected or reconnected with your true self.
Okay. Got it. All right. Many more questions for William Buhlman as we continue. He's got a great website. Do drop by. Just click on his name at rense.com and stop in. We'll be right back with Bill in just a couple.
Things I've learned is that none of us are human. We are consciousness, and as consciousness during an OBE, when I prolong my OBE, my humanoid form begins to essentially dissolve away. And when I hold my out-of-body state and use my technique like awareness now, which allows me to stabilize my state of consciousness, and I begin to automatically move inward into the universe, because actually in out-of-body experiences, we're moving into a subtle aspect, an inner aspect of the universe within ourselves. And one thing I learned is that I lose all humanoid form, generally in a very short period of time. And this has been confirmed by many other explorers.
What do you look like?
You generally will turn into first your arms and legs will begin to dissolve away. And you